The Central Missouri Mules golf team took their third Super Regional title in the last 4 years, here with head coach Tim Poe and freshman Robbie Huey, who claimed the individual title this last weekend up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Coach, let's start with you. Going into the Super Regional, you had a really young team. You had 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores, probably one of the youngest teams in the field. Going into that with such a young lineup, going into this competition, were you looking to claim the title? Were you looking to be a contender for the title, or were you just looking to be one of the top 5 teams to advance?
Well, we had talked about that prior to going up there, that it wasn't just to go up there and try to qualify. I mean, we wanted to try to go up there and win it, and we all felt that the way we had been playing the last 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the regional, that we just been kind of building a little bit each week and playing a lot better, and I think the guys going in really had a lot of confidence and felt like if we played our game and as we talked about, Robbie, using our head and using our heart and giving it all, and we'd have a really good chance of competing, and they most certainly did that.
As I mentioned earlier, Robbie took the individual title. We'll talk to you here in a little bit about that. Coach, what about the other players that really contributed to this performance? Talk about their runs.
Well, I think it was it was a total team effort. I mean, if you look at the scores, everybody contributed at one point or the other in the 3 days, and I think to have a team to compete on the national level and to win a regional like we did, you got to have 5 guys that are all playing well. I used to say years ago that if you had 4 pretty solid players and a 5th guy that every now and then would get a score in there, you'd be fine. But I think now, with as good as players are nowadays, you got to have 5 guys that can shoot a number. And if you look at our score sheet, we had 5 guys that pretty much all 3 rounds played well. I mean, I think we could have probably thrown out counted our high score, maybe still been right in there to win that thing. So it was a good job by all 5 guys, and I think that it just gives the other 4 guys a lot of confidence when you got 4 guys that are playing well. I mean, everybody's relaxed and goes out and plays their game. If someone's struggling, it puts a little pressure on. But I think as we showed kind of coming through the spring season, that we just got a little better each week, and I think everybody was really starting to gel and feel good about the way we were playing as a team.
Yeah. Robbie, talk about your approach throughout the week. From the first round when you came out with the overall lead, then rounds 2 and 3 where you came out trying to hold on to that advantage you had.
Well, stepping on the first tee on the first day, I didn't really know what to expect. It's just kind of approached it as just another tournament where I just wanted to post a couple good numbers and kind of get out there and play well and that kind of thing. But one thing led to another. Wound up posting a 33 3-under on the front 9, and then made 2 birdies on the front 9 back to back, and then made a couple more birdies coming in, and actually had a birdie putt on my last hole to shoot 64. But 65 was a solid number on the first round, and going into the second and third round, I definitely wanted to keep that momentum built and everything like that. I didn't want to take any conservative routes, but definitely wanted to play smart. So I think that 65 on the first day definitely helped build the rest of the momentum for the rest of the week, and I happened to get out there and post 2 more good numbers on top of the one that I built in the first round.
Coach, your team was the only team to break 290 in all 3 rounds. It was the only team to finish under par for the tournament at 5 under. What was it that really separated your guys from the rest of the field? Was it a certain aspect of the game? And then also, how aggressive or conservative were you kind of coaching your guys to go out there each day?
Well, I don't think you ever really want to talk about being conservative. I think if you talk about conservative, then it just changes kind of the way you swing. So you want to swing free and swing with confidence. And the thing we really keyed on was just really playing smart golf. These greens were very fast, and if you short-sided yourself, you were going to have a hard time getting it up and down. So I think really where we separated ourselves was, as a group, I felt like we putted pretty well, even though I know a few of the guys felt they could have putted better. We just, we putted pretty well. We didn't put ourselves in bad positions. I think we kept everything right in front of us and didn't, really miss it too much on one side or the other. They really had the pins tucked, and And I think what's really hard with some of these younger players is really to get them to, aim away from the flag at times. Like if you watch the Masters, I mean, those greens are so sloped and so fast that, if you hit it right at the pin, a lot of times it's going to roll off the green, or, there's so much slope there that you're not going to be able to hold it. And these greens, I think what Robbie would agree, were very much like that. I mean, you kind of had to hit it in quadrants and in spots, and if you hit it in those spots, you were going to have a good chance of two-putting. And as good as they rolled, and Robbie would tell you again, because I watched it all week, that, I mean, if you just gave yourself a chance, a pretty nice length putt, you had a good chance of making it. They were so smooth and true. So I think really our guys we had a good game plan as a group, and everybody just kind of followed through and played smart and with a lot of heart. And I think when you get into the postseason, if you do those two things well, you're gonna do well.
Rob, I know this is your first go-around, but what's a tournament title at a big event like this do for your confidence heading into nationals now?
I'm just going to approach it just like any other tournament. I mean, it's not anything that I'm going to put so much pressure on myself to play well like I did this past week. But I mean, I'm just going to approach it just like any other tournament. But go out there and try to have some fun. And not in class, and I'm not at work, so I mean, I can't complain about that. So I'm just going to approach it just like any other tournament I would, and just have some fun and try to post a couple good numbers.
What part of the game do you think was your strongest part last week that kind of took you to that next level?
Definitely like what my coach was saying. I definitely think that my putting was definitely on fire this past week. Through 54 holes, I made 22 birdies. So whenever I didn't hit the green, left myself in a decent position to get it up and down. And like what coach was saying, the greens were just rolling so well that you did have a really good chance of making it up and down, even from a decent length out. So my putter was definitely my savior this past week, and definitely didn't let me down. That was definitely my strongest aspect.
Coach, looking ahead now to the national tournament, it's going to be held in Hershey, Pennsylvania. What do you know about that course, and how does that compare to Strawberry Creek, where you guys were this week?
Well, again, just like this week, none of our guys have played it. I've never seen it, other than seeing it online or on the computer. All I can base it on is from what I hear. And again, I used Michael Burson, who was my assistant coach for the Palmer Cup team. He's the head coach at University of Wisconsin, and he knew a lot about the course we played this last week at regionals. And he texted me on our way home and said he has played Hershey Country Club a lot too. So he told me to give him a call, and he could give us some ins and outs. So relying on some friendship and one of my former friends and coaching buddies to give us a little information on that. But from what I hear, it's very traditional. It's an old club. I think it was built in the early 1900s, so I'm assuming it's going to be tree lined, like most of those courses up there in the Northeast are. The rough's probably going to be tall, like it is always up there, and probably be small, firm, fast greens. So that's what we're expecting right now, and hopefully Michael can give us some insight to maybe give us a little advantage. They didn't have a national preview like we've played in the past at a few of the courses, so it's going to be new. But as we talked about last week, that it was going to be important that we go in for our practice round and really knuckle down and see everything and get a good game plan, because we don't get 2 practice rounds, we only get 1. So I think that's key really to going on and producing good numbers later in the week, is getting a really good practice round in and studying the greens and knowing where you can and can't hit it. So this will be a little more of a traditional golf course that Robbie and Travis and everybody has grown up with, being tree lined. So be very similar to what they've all played their whole life. So just really anxious to get up there and see it this week.
It's been a pretty tough spring for you guys weather-wise, trying to get out and get some good rounds in some decent weather. What have your guys done to seemingly peak at the right time of the year with some of the struggles you've probably had outdoors?
Well, I think Robbie would agree that it's just kind of come with the weather. I mean, we started off just really rusty because we hadn't been out and been able to play some rounds. But you kind of, if you looked at the way the season progressed, as the weather got a little better, we got a little better. So I think you can attribute a lot of that to the weather. The guys continued to work hard, even though we were indoors. It gets a little boring hitting out of a building, all winter long and then going so late into the spring. But, I think Robbie would agree and the other guys would agree on our team that that's a blessing in disguise. I mean, not a lot of teams that we compete against have a building like that and are able to hit all year long when we have the weather like we had. So, I think, we were a little rusty early on because we hadn't really been out on the golf course, but I think as far as swing-wise, it didn't take us as long probably as a few of the teams that had the same situations, like a Washburn or any of the schools, right around the Kansas City area. I mean, they don't have a facility like that. So I think, if you look at the results for the year, I think that building, really showed that it gives us an advantage throughout the year when we have a year like we had.
Looking at the field you're going to go up against later this month with national meet, who are some teams that kind of stand out in your eyes as teams to beat?
Obviously Nova Southeastern and Barry University. We've seen those guys earlier in the year. They're teams that are continually in the top 5 in the country just about every year. Great programs, great coaches. So I expect those two teams probably to be the team to beat up here. You really can't count anybody out. I mean, you're taking the 5 best teams from 4 of the Super Regionals, and I think we've proven over the last 5 or 6 years that anybody can go up there, and if they play well, can win it. So I'm not going to say one team or the other is going to win it. I think just about anybody could win it, but I think the press probably would say that Nova Southeastern or Barry would probably be the favorite, and I think Robbie would agree. I mean, we played them earlier in the year when we went to Barry's tournament. They're a very solid team, but I think with the confidence we have right now and the way we played this week, if we can go up there and play like we did this week, we'll give anybody a run for their money.
All right, Coach Poe, Robbie, thanks for your time and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.